Hello, my fellow gaming tankers. Today's video will be doing sort of an impression-based comparison to the T-80 tanks and the T-72s and World of Tanks Modern Armor Cold War Era 2. That's a bit long, but we gotta do what we can to differentiate this game from the two other tank games out there. But first, because I have to differentiate myself from all the other channels, the 5 of them, that concern this game, just join me in the Tanker Prayer, or the Wargaming Prayer. Forgive me. Dear Tank Jeebus, grant me the strength to accept the things I cannot change, for Wargaming maketh the rules, and Wargaming breaketh the rules. Now, I realize that a diligent and thoughtful content creator would give you a breakdown of stats and details that would give you a true side-by-side, at least on paper, comparison between the T-80 and the T-72A, the T-80B and the T-72AV. We're not really going to do that in this video because, well, I don't know if you've noticed my videos, minimal effort and just a lot of my voice. So, also, we have other content creators for that sort of thing, although no one's really done a side-by-side comparison. But I will definitely give you my impressions because I do love the T-72s, especially in Era 2. They are still the best, sort of spoiling it here, but there's a reason behind that. Now, initially, when you want to come towards any Russian-based tanks, especially if they come directly from the Soviet Union, you will initially always start with improving the gun, the boom sound. Sorry, YouTube, or the YouTube advertisers, which I don't have. Now, and that's exactly what you would do with any of the T-72. That whole line, you would focus pretty much, alright, we got to get the accuracy of the gun down, boom snap down. Sorry, I'm recording multiple videos today. Things are getting a bit fuzzy in the head as I'm trying to get things done. Then you could, okay, yes, accuracy, reload, because the boom snout usually would have good penetration but a very high alpha for the class, the tier, the era. And then you could kind of play around with what you want to go the mobile route or make up the armor. That's when you would start playing around with what little versatility there was left. And that was kind of like even in World War II mode, you kind of still had that same thing. Although sometimes it's like, oh, maybe the speed would be really too slow. It's like, all right, we focus on speed first, mobility, then the boom snout. Now, here, Era 2, mobility for both tanks, or for the T-72, is good. You are, for that era, you're still at 64 to 65 kilometers per hour you can get up to. Obviously, now the T-80s, their main thing is when you first start playing them, almost stock, they feel like Era 3 MBTs. You easily do 70 kilometers per hour. Chances of doing 80 downhill or boosting it up, if you want to focus on that, you could definitely do that. So they have that speed and mobility of Era 2, which is better than either variants of the T-72. And in this case, the T-80 is faster than the T-72A and has, it's a little better turning, give or take. They're not the best in that regard, so, you know, clutch braking, definitely going to try some e-braking. I get the clutch braking for your commander, e-brake when you sometimes need to make those real sudden turns if you can. If you need to hopefully try to pull a crazy Ivan, that you can do. And as armor-wise, the T-72A I feel has it better there. It has that extra layer of upper plate armor that the T-80 does seem like it. The T-80 is, the armor isn't inspiring, but you kind of want to, you're fast, you are fast, and because of that, going back to the boom sound accuracy, it suffers. Unlike the T-72s, which they're slower, so they don't have so much of a reticle bloom, which weirdly enough, you suddenly feel like how accurate the boom snouts are on the T-72. Like, oh, they're going back to playing the T-72. Like, oh, these are almost like lasers. Not true. You still have that sort of Russian dirt, but the T-80s are more consistent with, well, I'm sure that hill over there had it coming, or that pile of dirt scared me. That's why I totally meant to shoot it. Or, okay, yeah, I realized that cupola was small, but it did not need to fly over that high. But you may be noticing that all of the T-80s, the T-80 and the T-80B are fully upgraded. You might be noticing the boom snout bloom is seriously there. Accuracy is not there. That kind of goes against what I was saying about what you do with the Eastern Alliance or Soviet things, focus on the boom snout. That's because while the T-80s are fast, they have a huge difference, a huge drawback compared to the T-72s, which is really surprising when you really remember that the T-72s, the fuel tanks are up front near the drive wheels. So at certain angles, if you have the right angle and the penetration, you can shoot through the drive wheel, track them, hit their gas tank, and potentially set them on fire. Well, if you thought those fuel tanks were too close to the front for comfort, the T-80 and the T-80B, those fuel tanks are pushed pretty much almost directly up against the armor, that front armor. So the reason I have such poor gun accuracy, boom snout accuracy, is because within like the first 5 matches of the T-80, and other reviews of this tank line said it, I think 4 out of 5 I was set on fire. Like the T-72s do not have this bad of a fire rate. Weirdly enough, and I think Wargaming should probably go back and look at their stats, these two tanks have the T-80 and the T-80B, 7.5% fire chance. The T-72s have a 10% chance. No, this is a consistent fire hazard. Like, the Object 292, which we got, like, last year, is based on the T-80s. The fuel tanks, though, are in a different configuration and placed differently. They did not prepare us for how much the T-80s will burst into flame. So I think that 7.6 is wrong, unless I am misreading. Comment down below if I don't know how to read that stat. But I have never played a tank that was so prone to fire since the Challenger 2. But here's the thing. I've immediately allocated anything that I can have available to prevent the fire extinguisher, reinforced fuel tanks, and anything else I can get for commander skills will be going on to this, because with so many autocannons, the Weissel MK1, ATGMs, having especially the lower plate that is so easy to penetrate and set on fire. The T-80B feels more like actually the T-72A, which was sort of is the counterpart to the T-80, but the T-80B feels like it's armored at least as well as the T-72A. Nothing like the T-72AB. The T-72AB is still better. It is still the best MBT or heavy tank, depending on whose logic or wording you want to go with. This is where is such a painful drawback, because it's like, oh, you have technically a decently armored and highly mobile heavy tank / MBT that, oh, it has poor accuracy and you gotta work with that. That wouldn't be surprising, because you can do almost 80 kilometers per hour. But oh wait, so many other tanks can set you on fire really easily through the drive wheel, through the front plate, through the upper plate because those gas tanks are right next to the tracks. And then if you get the right pen or whatever in RNGs, like you can shoot straight through and hit the ammo rack. Right between the two fuel tanks, hit the ammo rack. This is what separates the T-80s from the T-72s. The T-80s almost want to catch on fire. T-72s, yeah, they're a fire hazard, but nowhere near, just because the fuel tanks are slightly farther back, but I still play them, and every once in a while, oh, I'm on fire. T-80s, across the board. Fire extinguisher, reinforced fuel tank for equipment. That slot goes to that. I am paranoid to drive a T-80. Any variant right now. I've only just started working on the Air 3. I'm halfway through that grinding, but looking at the module profiles and seeing where those fuel tanks are, it is very worrying to play these tanks, so you may not want to play them as aggressively, because it doesn't take a genius to shoot through a lower plate. Once you've learned to shoot through a lower plate, you're going to be aiming for that for every tank, so the chances of hitting a fuel tank on the T-80 is high. And that's kind of like, yeah, you want to be mobile, I guess, or you don't want to be close because you don't want to make it easier for the enemy, so you want to move around. But you can't run and gun because your boom sight doesn't have the accuracy, so you have to stop and try to get hull down. But you will have, like all good Soviet tanks, like 5 to 6 degrees of gun depression. So it was like, hull down. What is that? Can I get a wall first? That is easily destroyed, and then yeah, it is. They're fun tanks. They can be powerful tanks, but the T-80s are so balanced to the point of like, yeah, I don't want to get set on fire today. Which is where I say the T-72s in Era 2 are still the best. The T-72 AV is so wonderfully well armored from the front with all that ERA armor, the mobility, 65 kilometers per hour. That's fine. That is totally standard. Decent turns, and you're an MBT, but you have kind of like the size of a medium, so you can try to be more concealable. You're like, you look at those fat M60s and go, Americans are fat. So this is where, if for new players, I would say still T-72 line is still the best to go. Era 3 does change things and they don't perform as well anymore. They need buffs. Hopefully at the end of the year that will happen. Next year, I mean. We just had the Western Alliance buffs for the Frostbite season happen. That was a huge improvement for a lot of tanks. And hopefully the T-72s get even more love. I don't know. They are, especially in Era 2, they're solid. T-80B, ooh, that fire hazard. But anyway, I'm enjoying them still with the proper precautions, which do kind of limit the thing from being better in certain areas where it might need to be better. But it's only a game. I hope you keep your tracks on the ground. RNG's in your favor. Catch you in the next one. Bye.